Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are discussing the lines of latitudes and longitudes. What are latitudes and longitudes? As you know, the location of a country not only influences its climate and physical characteristics, but it has also a strong impact on its people and their lifestyle. So in order to know the location of any area or country, the imaginary lines have been drawn on the globe or map. These lines drawn from the east to the west are known as lines of latitude, and imaginary lines drawn from the north to the south are called lines of longitude. An area on the earth can be easily located with the help of these lines. Now, let us see the difference between latitudes and longitudes. The latitudes are the imaginary lines, and their direction on the globe is from east to west. Because if we look at the globe, these are the lines running from east to west, parallel to the equator. They are known as parallel lines. Yes, parallel because they do not cross each other at any point around the globe, and they have similar distance between them. The number of latitudes running on the globe from east to west are 180, or we can say the degrees of latitudes are 180 in numbers, 90 from the equator in the northern hemisphere and 90 on the globe from the equator south of the equator. The main degrees or the notable lines of latitudes are following: the equator, the Tropic of Cancer, and the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, what are longitudes? The longitudes are the lines, imaginary lines that runs from north to south on the globe, or we can say they are from north to south, converging at the poles and widest at the equator. These are not parallel lines because they do cross each other on the northern pole and south pole, means they cross each other on 2 points, on the north and on the south. That is why they are not parallels. The number of longitudes running north to south are 360, or we can say the degrees of longitudes on the globe are total 360 in numbers. The notable lines or notable important degrees of longitudes are Greenwich meridian, or another name for it is prime meridian, which is actually the 0 degree of longitude running from north to south. The important lines of latitude that were discussed through the headings can be further understood with the help of this diagram. If you look at this diagram, you see the red line is known as the equator, which is the 0 degree latitude. It divides the earth into 2 equal halves in the middle, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. There are total 90 degrees of latitudes from north of the equator. Same goes for the southern hemisphere. From the equator, we have 90 degrees of latitude in the southern hemisphere. So there are total 180 degrees or 180 important lines of latitudes on the globe. Some of them are discussed here, such as Tropic of Cancer. As you can see in the diagram, one of the important degree of latitude is known as Tropic of Cancer, which lies on the 23.5 degree north from the equator. Next important line of latitude is Tropic of Capricorn. It lies on the southern hemisphere and it lies on the 23.5 degree south of the equator. These 2 degrees of latitude also tells us the difference of climate. As we proceed from the equator towards northward or southward, up to this degree, we will see on the earth that the climate is hot. Next degree of latitude is Arctic Circle. Arctic Circle further lies on the 66.5 degree north of the equator. This degree is having such space and distance from the 23.5 degree latitude that it will give much difference of climate. As we proceed from Tropic of Cancer towards the Arctic Circle, the intensity of heat decreases. Same goes for the Antarctic Circle, which lies on 66.5 degrees south of the equator. Same goes for this degree of latitude. As we proceed from equator toward the southwards up to the degree of Antarctic Circle, the intensity of climate decreases. The heat decreases and the climate will become cooler. So as we proceed from the Arctic Circle, 66.5 degree north, further north up to the northern pole, these are the frozen areas. In the same way, Antarctic Circle, 66.5 degree south of the equator. If we proceed from here to the southern pole or the south pole, this is a frigid zone. This is an icy area. So there is less heat as compared to the middle of the earth or the equator. Like latitudes, there is also an important line of longitude, which is known as prime meridian. The prime meridian is an imaginary line that is similar to the equator, which divides the earth into eastern and western hemisphere. It is referred as Greenwich meridian, and it is a line of longitude at which longitude is defined to be 0 degree. If we look at this diagram, you can see the Greenwich meridian running from North Pole to South Pole. This is the 0 degree of longitude through which we can measure or understand the rest of the degrees of longitudes. Greenwich meridian, from Greenwich meridian, if we proceed towards the eastward, you will find 180 degrees east of the Greenwich meridian. Same goes for the western hemisphere, the Greenwich meridian dividing the earth into 2 hemispheres, eastern and western. So if we proceed towards the western hemisphere, we will also find 180 degrees west from the Greenwich meridian. So there are total of 360 degrees or 360 lines of longitudes, but they do cross each other at North Pole and South Pole. These are the lines which helps you to locate a place on the globe. If we proceed towards the east and you want to find out a place in the eastern hemisphere, you have to proceed towards the eastern degrees from the Greenwich meridian. If you want to locate a place in the western hemisphere of the globe, you have to proceed from the Greenwich meridian towards the west degrees of longitudes, through which you can locate a certain area and you can know their difference from the Greenwich. With reference to the longitude, world time is divided into 24 time zones. Out of these, 12 are located in the east and 12 in the west of the Greenwich. All countries of the world fix their standard time according to the prime meridian. The International Standard Time is taken with reference to the Greenwich. Therefore, as we move to the east from the Greenwich, the time will be added. Whereas, moving toward the west, the time will decrease. So, now we know that the degrees of longitude also tells you the different time zones of the different places of the earth, of the world. And you can also understand this time difference through this example that each degree can be broken into 60 minutes and each minute can be divided into 60 seconds. Importance of latitudes are that it locates a place on a globe, because through these parallel lines we can know that a place is located in the northern hemisphere from the equator or in the southern hemisphere from the equator. Number 2, it tells us about the climatic conditions of a place. As we have discussed that from the equator, if we proceed northwards or if we proceed southwards through these parallel latitudes, we will know the difference of climate, as the intensity of the heat will decrease further away from the equator. Third point, it divides the whole earth in small parts, because the parallel lines have equal distance among them, so it is giving us a very good portion of the different parts of the earth. Number 4, it provides means for sailors to navigate to new continents, because latitudes gives us the difference of climates, so it becomes easier for the navigators how to sail their ships according to the climatic differences. Now, for the importance of longitudes, it is used while setting the time zone of a place. As we have discussed that the different degrees of longitudes also gives you the understanding of the time zones. We have 180 degree east from the Greenwich meridian and 180 degrees west from the Greenwich meridian. So we proceeding towards the east or the west, you will understand through these longitudes the time difference. As moving towards the west, the time decreases, and moving towards the east, the time will be added. It is used to find the time of any place, as we have discussed that every degree of longitude gives you the difference of 60 minutes. Thank you.